good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Dave Yamamoto. Today is Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, and we will call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. So before we get started, as we always announce, we'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak. Again, pressing *6. It is very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you so much. So I want to welcome everyone to our weekly Tuesday morning community update call. Let's start with the Board of Commissioners roll call. Commissioner Bell, are you with us? How about Commissioner Scar?
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. I see Commissioner Bell. We can't hear you.
Good morning, I am here. I was struggling with mute.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. So as we always do every morning, let's start with our report from Adventist Health. I believe we have Eric Swanson with us this morning.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
We have 17 patients in our hospital today, less than 3 patients admitted with a positive COVID test. No patients boarding in the emergency department today. 7 surgeries scheduled, all are elective or non-urgent. Ambulance did 7 911 transports yesterday, 1 transfer. Number of hospitalized patients with COVID-19 across Oregon is 253, 1 fewer than yesterday. 26 COVID-19 patients in intensive care unit beds, which is no change from yesterday. 9 are on ventilators. 4,575 emergency department visits across Oregon. 2% of them were for COVID-like illnesses. There are 25 available adult ICU beds out of 333 total. That's 8% availability. 108 available adult non-ICU beds out of 1,923. That's 6% availability, and that's Region 1 data. Dr. Peter Graven at OHSU updated his COVID forecast last week, and he's reporting that on the day he reported the number of hospitalized patients with COVID-19, which was the 14th of 253, the decline in the number of patients with COVID-19 has slowed but continues. The number of patients being held in Oregon emergency departments has increased to 249 patients. That has to do with the inability to get patients who are inpatients out to skilled nursing facilities primarily. The flu forecast shows a likely vigorous return of influenza, and he's reporting by December flu is expected to outpace COVID. Visits, let's see, as of September 13, COVID patients occupy 4% of Oregon's intensive care unit beds, and the number of hospitalized children with COVID-19 is 4 as of September 15. So he's saying that the forecast is showing a slightly slower decline than the previous forecast and a later start to the fall surge. And he also reports that many patients who are admitted to hospitals for reasons other than COVID have underlying conditions, and COVID may have tipped the scales towards admission. Future reports are going to modify the use of incidental, which now estimates a better account of the number of additional beds needed for COVID. And that's for as a reminder, what he means by incidental is that they're in the hospital for another reason and they have a positive COVID test. It's survey season around Adventist Health. Last week, we had our trauma survey. We're a level 4 trauma center. And so the Oregon Health Authority did our trauma reaccreditation. The last time we were reaccredited for trauma was 2018. And they were very complimentary about the care that we provide to patients entered into the trauma system. They were particularly impressed with our pre-hospital care that our EMTs and paramedics provide, and basically had only a couple recommendations on things to do in the future with no findings. So we were happy about that one. Yesterday, our ambulance department had their licensing survey. We were the first ambulance service in the state to go through the new licensing process, which is in person, and the first one in the last couple of years, because of COVID, they haven't done any in-person ones. And it took them a total of an hour and 15 minutes to survey us, and they had no findings and said they hope all other ambulance services are as organized as we are when it comes to their survey process. They were very impressed with everything and very happy about that. So Jackie Fox, our ambulance director, and her team did an amazing job. So unless you've got questions for me, that's all I've got to report for you this morning.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions for Eric Swanson? Eric, I just want to congratulate you and Adventist Health for the reaccreditation of your trauma center moniker, as well as your ambulance service. Those things are extremely important to the community in Tillamook County, and you and Adventist Health are just doing such a great job in all that. It's really great to hear that you've got it all under control. We do appreciate it so much.
Well, yeah, we have a great team of people, and I can take about zero credit for any of that. The team that put together the trauma survey materials, they spend weeks putting things together for these reviews, and I just have nothing but praise for my team. All of those involved did amazing work in both of these surveys, and again, it's our privilege to serve this community, and we want to do the very best job that we can. So thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that.
I appreciate your thoughts very much. A great team needs a great leader, and I just have to say we appreciate what you do very much. We do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's move on to the Coastal Caucus. I know we have Representative Weber, and I see Representative Gomberg. I do not know if we have Senator Anderson and/or Senator Armitage, but at this point, I'll just turn it over to the Coastal Caucus. Good morning. Representative Weber, are you there?
I'm here.
Yes,
I'm here.
good morning.
Just like Commissioner Bell, I was having difficulty with the mute button. So,
good morning.
Good morning. Look at this bright and sunny morning. This week is a very important week in the legislature because it's called Ledge Week, and we meet with all of our committees and discuss everything that has happened since the last time we met with all of the committees that we have been, all of the updates on coming legislation. And you know I'm on the Housing Committee and have worked on the disparities in housing throughout the summer, and the Education Committee, and talking again about recruitment, retention, and compensation for teachers. And yesterday we had several meetings on that also, talking about how to go forward legislatively to increase our teaching staff and reward them for the job that they do. We'll also be addressing several health issues and early childhood too. I wasn't able to attend last week, and one of those is the reason is that as a caucus, we were meeting, and we met for 2 days to discuss possible legislation that can be coming, either proposed by us or other avenues. And it was very interesting learning about the concepts that other people are thinking about bringing forward for legislation and how they can affect us. And you will be getting more and more information on that as time goes on, because the next legislative session will begin in January. And our basic concepts, one of the filing deadlines for that is this next Friday. So the bills that we are thinking about, to see if they are viable, they're going to be sent to the legal office, and the legal office will peruse them and see if they can go forward. This last weekend, oh man, I had a great weekend. On Friday, I was invited to the Hampton Lumber Sip and Stroll, which was in the middle of the Big Creek Forest. And it was a benefit for the North Coast Watershed Association. And they carved out trails for you to walk and lighted them. And it's the setting for in the middle of the tree farm to create a yurt that can be used for meetings and for education opportunities for folks in Clatsop County. It was a great evening. And then we had the YMCA dinner and auction, and once again, Tillamook rallies around the YMCA and all other issues that need help. I don't think I've ever seen a community that rallies around and supports the people that live here like Tillamook does. And I have to give kudos to the organization of the night, and the decorations and the food and the fun and the good cause in supporting our children's ability to be able to participate, especially in YMCA activities. With that, I have to also express my displeasure at the court's decision on the timber suit, and I'm sure Commissioner Yamamoto, you will fill us all in on that. I've had several briefings with PGE and with other power companies regarding fires and the shutting off of the electricity to a lot of different areas. They did a really good job of providing places that people could get services since they didn't have power. And I've also met with Department of State Lands because we have a huge issue on the Columbia with abandoned vessels and their abatement, and they'll be hauling one of those boats off of the bottom of the river in this next week. And the controversy there is that the cost of about $1 million of taking that boat off the bottom is going to come from our common school funds. And that is very alarming, and we need to take care of our abandoned vessels in a way that doesn't impact our school funds. And the other issue, the other exciting event that we had in Tillamook was when the Trailblazers came here last week and provided a lot of entertainment out there in front of the courthouse. The kids loved it. The parents loved it. It was good, wholesome, fun activity and a great way to connect with people outside. So thank you once again, KTIL, for doing this, and for the county commissioners for being able to focus on issues regarding our citizens in Tillamook County. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Weber. Representative Gomberg.
Well, good morning, Commissioners, and good morning, Tillamook County. The biggest government news this week, and Representative Weber touched on this, is the decision by our Oregon Supreme Court to not hear any appeals of the decision made by the Court of Appeals in overturning a decision by a Lynn County jury to award more than $1 billion to our timber counties for not making full possible use of our timberlands that were ceded to the state back in the 1940s by our counties. Counties gave those lands to the state. The state was obligated to maintain them. The agreement was that the state would maintain them for the greatest permanent value, and about 2/3 of the revenue that would come from any logging in those counties would then return to the counties. To put that in perspective, if I'm not mistaken, last year, the timber revenues that came back to Tillamook County were about $25 million. But this lawsuit argued that we should be doing more logging and generating more revenues in those lands, and that greater permanent value would reflect their use in the timber industry and not so much for recreation or for preservation. So those were the issues that were being debated. The Lynn County jury found that the state was not meeting their obligation to the counties, awarded them over $1 billion in interest of about $250,000 a day. That case has been lingering since 2016, and the and the Oregon Supreme Court now has decided they're not going to hear any further appeals, and essentially the argument is over. This is a big deal. It's a big deal for those timber counties that we're hoping to see more revenues to provide greater services to local residents in rural communities. It's also a big deal for the state of Oregon because had they been obligated to come up with those dollars, that would have meant either increasing tax revenues or cutting other programs to come up with more than $1 billion, which is not an inconsequential amount of money in our state budget. So it's not an issue that a lot of people have been following very, very closely, but it is a consequential issue, and I think that's the biggest government news of the week. Excuse me. If you read my weekly reports that I email out, you know that I was talking this week about the ongoing challenge of finding enough employees for the work that we have available, particularly out here at the coast. And I would say that this is a matter of importance to everyone out here, whether you're a restaurant owner that's trying to find enough staff to keep tables open and serve meals, whether you're a bank manager who the doors open all hours, or whether you're a retiree standing in increasingly longer lines at the local pharmacy. There's some new federal research that's coming out that's shedding a little more light on the nature of this problem. And they're saying that we're not finding enough workers, partly because more people of retirement age are opting to retire rather than to continue working, that the amount of legal immigration is down. We're finding more workers that are staying home to provide child care, and that's an aspect of all of this. But there is another aspect that I find particularly intriguing, and it's a phrase that we're hearing more and more often. It's called quiet quitting. And if you look this up, the definition of quiet quitting is essentially that people are going to work, they're meeting their obligations, but they're not going above and beyond. They're not staying longer hours, they're not working extra hard, they're not coming in extra early, and that's having an impact on our labor pool and our productivity as well. People that are saying that work is not the be-all and end-all of their lives, that there's other things going on in the world around them, and they want more time to enjoy life than to simply engage in the daily rat race of trying to get ahead. And that may be particularly impactful here at the coast with full opportunities for recreation and quality of life beyond going to work each and every day. I mean, the other thing that's going on in our work pool is that we find ourselves with fewer workers and more people retiring. There's opportunities for younger workers to move up quickly through the economy, more quickly than before, and that leaves an increasing number of vacancies at entry-level positions and service-level positions. That's one reason that we're seeing help wanted signs up and down the highway for a lot of those kind of jobs. And finally, I'll mention one of the things that has the potential to become disturbing is that because wages are higher, we're seeing more students dropping out of school and going to work for those higher-paying jobs rather than completing their degrees, and that may have some long-term consequences. A couple of other things to share with you, Commissioners. One of them is that I've been getting phone calls from some people saying, what's going on at our grocery stores? At least one major retailer now is carding everybody who buys alcohol, no matter how old they are or how old they appear. I got a call from a woman in her mid-70s who was troubled that she was asked to show identification to purchase a bottle of wine, and in the process of doing that was then also asked to provide her driver's license, which was scanned by this retailer. And they were told that this is a new state requirement. I want to assure listeners this is not a state requirement, that the legislature, that our executive department and the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission is not requiring this. It's a decision being made by the retailer themselves to try and better comply with the obligation that they not sell certain products to people that are underage. The thing I want to stress, first of all, that it's not a state rule. The second thing I want to stress is that the state law does say that should a retailer collect information from your driver's licenses, that they're not allowed to store that information or to sell that information. But this is going on at least in one major retailer in Tillamook County, and it may soon be done by others, it's not being required. So those are a couple of different things that are going on in the community. Certainly, for a lot of us, attention is shifting to the election that's coming up now in 50 days. I want to remind people that in about a month they are going to be getting their voters pamphlet and the ballots not soon after that. And I would certainly encourage them, when they get that information, to pay particular attention to those races that are a little bit further down the ballot. You know, all the attention is going to be on the governor's race, the U.S. Senate race, or our legislative contest, which have got the resources to do a lot of advertising and a lot of outreach and a lot of organizing. But I would say that the races further down the ballot, like mayor or city council or school board, in many ways have a greater impact on your daily life than those of us that serve in the legislature. They decide what kind of education your kids get, whether the pothole gets filled in front of your house, or how long it takes to get a response from the police department if you call for help. Pay a lot of attention to those races. They don't have really high-profile campaigns. The candidates are not getting as much opportunity to express their positions on a lot of really important local issues. Read your voters pamphlet and take the opportunity to acquaint yourself with all those important races on the ballot, whether the really big, high-profile ones at the top of the ballot or the equally important, sometimes more important races closer to the bottom. So that's what I've got for you today, Commissioners. Happy to answer any questions if you've got them.
Thank you, Representative Gomberg. Any questions for either of our Coastal Caucus members? Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Let's move on to the Tillamook County Community Health Center. Do we have Marlene Putman and or Ed Colson with us?
Well, good morning, Commissioner. Ed Colson here with the Health Department with our report.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, to start off, the Oregon Health Authority is no longer updating their county transmission map that tracks the 7-day new COVID-19 cases and positivity rate as of September 14th. The CDC community levels will now be utilized. The CDC community levels help individuals to assess their personal risk using the percent of new hospital admissions for COVID-19 and percent of staffed inpatient beds used by patients with confirmed COVID-19 based on the current level of new cases per 100,000 in the population over the past 7 days. So as of September 15th, based on weekly case data of 76.67 COVID-19 cases per 100,000 and having a 3.9 new COVID-19 admission per 100,000 and 1.7 staffed inpatient beds in use by patients with confirmed COVID-19, Tillamook County is at low community level of COVID-19. We still recommend, based on those actions, to stay up to date with your COVID-19 vaccines, to continue to get tested if you have symptoms, wear a mask if you have symptoms, a positive test, or an exposure to somebody who has COVID-19, and then wear a mask on public transportation and in healthcare settings. You may choose to wear a mask at any time as an additional precaution to protect yourself and others. Now, the updated Moderna bivalent COVID-19 booster has arrived at our health center. Bivalent boosters provide protection against Omicron's versions BA4 and BA5 and the original strain of the virus that causes COVID-19. If it has been more than 2 months since your last COVID-19 vaccine, and that's having Moderna, Pfizer, or the Johnson & Johnson, and you are 12 years old and older, it is highly recommended you get the bivalent booster. Staying up to date with COVID-19 vaccine recommendations is the best way to protect yourself from severe illness and hospitalization. If you're 18 years old and older, either bivalent booster can be administered. Now, if you're 12 to 17, the Pfizer bivalent booster must be administered. Now, for storage and supply purposes, our health center will only be offering the Moderna bivalent booster at this time, and Adventist Health Tillamook is offering the Pfizer bivalent booster. So to go ahead and schedule that, you can call our community health center for those boosters at 503-842-3900. And then if you need to locate additional bivalent booster sites, you can contact 211 and they can help with assistance. The month of September serves as National Preparedness Month. I'm sure Randy will talk more about preparedness. But in the health department here, whether it be for any natural disasters we may occur, wildfires, floods, drought, heat waves, ice storms, or earthquakes, we want everybody to take a moment as well to create an emergency plan for your household. It might be helpful to think about these questions. How will I receive emergency alerts and warnings? What is my shelter plan? What is my evacuation route? And what is my family household communication plan? And then do I need to update my emergency preparedness kit? Some more information on building those emergency preparedness kits and preparedness information, you can visit ready.gov. And with that, that's our health department report.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions for Ed Colson? Ed, I've got one. I hope you don't mind. So it appears over the past 2 winters, flu cases were almost non-existent. COVID was running rampant. Do you know a reason why flu cases were so low over the past 2 winters?
For that information, I don't have one. I have to take back to my, I would have to take back to get a more clear explanation with our health department. I do know with the prevalence of having masks and isolation due to COVID-19, that helped with that. But as far as an epidemiological explanation, I don't have that, but I do know that those social distancing measures and mask wearing helped with that. And we are intending, we'll have more information about it regarding flu clinics and vaccines in the next month of October. We'll have more information about that once we get that scheduled.
Perfect. Appreciate that very much.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have any questions for Ed Colson? Thank you, Ed, for being with us. Let's move on to the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. Gail Nelson. Gail, are you with us? Anyone from Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy? Let's move on to Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Frank Hanna-Williams. Frank.
Good morning, Commissioners. Frank Hanna-Williams, Director, Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Behavioral health services for Tillamook County residents. Would like to say that given that September we're coming close to the end of September, but it is a month in which we acknowledge suicide prevention awareness, that should you or your loved ones or someone that you know have concerns or express that rise to the level of concern related to self-harm, that you can reach us here at the agency at 503-842-8201. And when you call, and if this is your concern, that you indicate that you would like to speak to the clinician who was on call. And feelings around suicide are very serious, and we want to be able to provide the person and their loved ones some support around addressing those concerns. Again, behavioral health services for Tillamook County residents. Again, 503-842-8201, and I will take any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Frank, for being with us. Any questions for Frank Hanna-Williams? Thank you, Frank. Let's move on to the Sheriff's Office. Do we have Sheriff Brown with us this morning? How about Under Sheriff Kelly? I hope things are okay out there. Hopefully everyone's not off on a call somewhere. Let's go to Emergency Management. Randy Thorpe. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Commissioners. To start off with, the steering committee for the updating of our county's natural hazard mitigation plan held one of their public engagement activities at the Tillamook Farmers Market this last Saturday. And basically, we're just giving the residents of the county an opportunity to identify what natural hazards they're concerned about and also get any type of input that they have towards those concerns and possible ways of helping to mitigate those. Luckily, I had Leanne Welch with me, who basically didn't let anybody pass that booth without participating. So we had some pretty good participation from the community. So hopefully we've got some good information for that steering committee to move forward with. And again, speaking of Preparedness Month, this Saturday, the 24th, from 9 to 3, the South County Emergency Preparedness Fair will be held at the Hebo Fire Station. This is sponsored by both the South Tillamook County Emergency Volunteer Corps and the Nestucca Rural Fire Protection District. It is going to be a fairly large event. They're going to have a kids corner, fire extinguisher training, pet preparedness information, and a whole lot more. They will have representatives from the American Red Cross, the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, the Visit Tillamook Coast people, of course the Tillamook Public Utilities District, and Emergency Management, and also the Tillamook County Community Development Team. They'll also be having a booth there to go over the hazard mitigation plan again, to try to get some public input. They are saying that they're going to have go bags available for sale. They're around $80, $79.95, and you can also order a GMRS two-way radio. They're right around $70. So I would recommend that put this on your calendar and spend a Saturday morning down in the beautiful city of Hebo. And that's all I have for right now, Commissioner.
Thank you for that, Randy. I appreciate that. And yes, the South Tillamook County Emergency Volunteer Corps Emergency Preparation Fair. I will be there all day. Come on down. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be very educational also. You'll learn a lot on how to prepare yourself and your families in preparation of major events. And unfortunately, we do have quite a few of those every year. So thank you again, Randy, for being here. Let's go to the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Bell, would you like to start?
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Well, I would like to follow up with what Randy was talking about emergency management, and just mention my gratitude for, we have convened a group of citizen advisors to the emergency management program. So this advisory council has been meeting monthly, and Eric Swanson from Adventist Health is chairing it, and they're working with us on our plans for emergency management in Tillamook County. And because we have a relatively new now emergency manager in Randy Thorpe, we wanted to really deeply partner with community partners such as the fire chiefs and law enforcement and the city managers and public works folks and everybody who is involved in an emergency, the 911 center, etc., and get information from all those good folks about how can we do better, what can we improve on, where can we grow this program, and how can we better address the needs of the community. And so that group has been meeting, and it's very, very helpful. I think, we've talked before about Tillamook County has more declared emergencies and disasters than any other county in the state, largely because of flooding, also windstorms, etc. And so, we know that this happens here. We know that we respond pretty well, but this new emergency manager was an opportunity to press a reset button and say, yes, we do this pretty well, but how can we do better? And so that's really exciting work. It's moving forward really well. We're the team that gets together with the advisory council is very helpful and active participants with great ideas. And this week, Randy and I are going to meet with Eric Swanson, president of Adventist Health, to come up with the first draft of a strategic plan for the Emergency Management Department, which I don't think the Emergency Management Department has had maybe ever, but certainly not in anyone's memory. And so that, in my mind, looks like a pie chart. Like, what are the areas in between emergencies, which we know that we regularly have? What are the areas that we want to focus on, such as training for emergency responders and volunteer development and help with emergency preparedness committees throughout the county? So what are the areas that we really want to focus on in between disasters? And so Randy and I were going to meet with Adventist Health President Eric Swanson this week to work on the first draft of our strategic plan. I asked Randy to reach out to other counties and find out what they're using for strategic plans and see if we can look at their drafts. And he didn't get any back, which means that, one more time we might be trendsetters. We might be the first to move into this strategic planning category for emergency management. But I think it's a really great idea, and I'm very grateful for all the help and support we're getting from the community to work on it. So with that, I think it's the loss is the wrong word of the Linn County class action lawsuit. The refusal of the Oregon State Supreme Court to hear our case is very disheartening. It's depressing and maybe not totally surprising, but still really disappointing, deeply disappointing. And here's one thing I want to say about it, and I'm sure Commissioner Yamamoto will follow up. But the thing about it that was really most disappointing to me is that when the appeals court, so as you heard Representative Gomberg say, the lawsuit was won with a jury. So, a jury of our peers said that the counties, the timber counties, had a strong case, and that the state had failed in keeping its contract with the timber counties. And so that's, from my perspective, that's the reality of the situation. The appeals court said, yes, indeed, the Department of Forestry had a contract with the timber counties. And yes, indeed, they changed the terms of the contract over time. But we think they were allowed to. And so there's the crux of the issue, that the terms that the counties established with the state in the beginning for greatest permanent value, the Board of Forestry changed those terms over time. And therefore, the support, the financial support that comes to the counties and to the special districts has diminished over time. And so the outcome of this case is just really very disappointing to me. And so I think that's all I'm going to say about it. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. Appreciate that very much. Commissioner Scar.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I think that Commissioner Bell gave a pretty good analysis of the timber lawsuit, and I do know that Commissioner Yamamoto will do that as well. But I also share just the sense that it's really unfortunate that the Supreme Court did not take this up, not only, again, for the timber counties and the challenges that we face, but also for the fact that it was a decision of the people. There's a reason that our legal system is designed the way it is with jury trials, and a jury very quickly and very resoundingly said that the state of Oregon had a contract with the timber counties, and resoundingly said they had inappropriately changed the terms of that contract. So for our appeals court to say yes, but that's just okay, and for our Supreme Court to say we're not going to hear the case, I think really puts our legal system in an interesting space, because that is how so much gets decided, is by precedent. So the concerns are not only for our county and what we will now not be able to do to provide for our residents, but also what other agreements do we and others have with the state of Oregon that they now have apparently the unilateral right to change if they so choose. And I think it's very alarming for counties because we have a lot of agreements with the state. In so many situations, the state's mandates services to be done by the counties. And if they can just begin to unilaterally change the rules by which we are required to do these things, we have no standing, and it's just a scary time. So again, I'm sure Commissioner Yamamoto will speak more, but this is about far more than the cutting of timber. It is about far more than just the money that we have not received over the years, but it is also about our future relationship with the state. So I'll stop on that one because I'm sure Commissioner Yamamoto will take us deeper. So just quickly, a couple things I got to do last week as a commissioner. I went up to NCRD, had the opportunity to do a really nice full tour of NCRD, meet with members of their board, their staff, talk about the programs that they had, talk about the pool, which they are still working on how to fund that new pool and complete it in the face of what we are all seeing of increasing costs and so forth. So it was a great opportunity to learn more about that. And I just encourage anyone who has not had a tour at NCRD, go up and take a tour. They have great facilities, lots happening, and hopefully can find a way forward for the pool. The other big meeting that I had last week was the Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee, and I know there's lots of people out there that are monitoring what's happening with the short-term rental pause, and I know that because I'm getting lots of emails, folks who are saying, when will this end? Will this end? Please don't end this. Please end it tomorrow. So there's a lot of different feelings out in the community regarding the short-term rental pause, and what we are doing with that committee is really trying to take in as much information we can about how short-term rentals impact our community overall and how we can design our ordinance so that it supports our quality of life that we all appreciate and supports the economy base that we need to have of short-term rentals. So last week we had the opportunity to talk specifically about the transient lodging tax, how much is generated, how it is used, and how that relates to our larger tourist needs. So if you're interested in that, the Community Development webpage has a short-term rental advisory page, and materials from that meeting are posted, and I believe a recording of that meeting, at least the audio, if not posted currently, will be. We invite people always to come and join us at these meetings. They are typically the first Tuesday of the month at 9:30. They occur at the library. You can also go online and listen. We had moved last month due to the previous holiday, but generally the first Tuesday of the month. And we just encourage everyone who has questions to come and listen. Our meeting next month, we are going to have county counsel with us to talk about what are the legal aspects of what we're doing. So that should also be a very interesting meeting. And the goal continues to be to get Ordinance 84 finalized as quickly as we can with a really good, solid ordinance. So those of you who are wondering how long the pause will go, we are working diligently to get the ordinance updated, and it will go until that happens and is approved by the Board of Commissioners, or July of 2023, which is at this point the end date for it. The commissioners could change that, but right now those are the two pieces. And then the other thing I had the opportunity to do last week was to attend the Pendleton Roundup as part of a county commissioner statewide convening. Great opportunity to meet with fellow commissioners from around the state, as well as staff from the Association of Oregon Counties, to begin to talk about legislative concepts, legislative ideas. What will the Association of Oregon Counties get behind in this next legislative session? Really working hard to have one voice from the counties so that we can identify the pieces that we all share and really take to our legislators a strong county voice. And this circles back to the timber lawsuit and that relationship counties have with the state as their service provider in many, many areas. We need to have that shared conversation with the state as all counties. So it was a good opportunity to really begin to craft some of the language of that shared conversation so that we can really push the items that are super important to counties. So with that, thank you for listening, and I will turn it back over to Chair Yamamoto.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar. Appreciate that very much. Yes, I also was at the Pendleton Roundup last week, and it was on my drive home that I got the devastating news that the Oregon State Supreme Court denied hearing our appeal. As always happens, so I'm chair of the Council of Forest Trust Land Counties, the 15 trust counties that deeded land to the state in order for them to develop the Department of Forestry. And we've been working on our communication for all the commissioners in the trust counties. And unfortunately, as always happens, since we are an arm of AOC, the Association of Oregon Counties, any correspondence we do has to go through our attorneys. So we do anticipate our message to go out first thing this morning. And I'd like to just read portions of our message to the Trust County Commissioners. So the Oregon Supreme Court decision not to review the Court of Appeals decision in the Linn County case is an unexpected and devastating blow. Not only did the Linn County case consider the management of state forest lands, but it also included the largest monetary damages ever awarded in Oregon state courts. The Court of Appeals overturned the jury's decision in this case. Historically, we know that the Supreme Court of Oregon does not take lightly the overturning of a jury's decision. It was our expectation that the Supreme Court would take up this case for these very reasons. We're disappointed that the court did not. As we move beyond this decision, we believe the revenue for the counties and economic activity generated by active, sustainable management on state forest lands are key aspects of greatest permanent value. The current rule, OAR 629-035-0020, is clear, and I quote, "Sustainable and predictable production of forest products that generate revenues for the benefit of the state, counties, and local taxing districts," unquote, is needed to provide greatest permanent value. The need for revenue from state forest lands to fund essential services like schools, fire protection, and law enforcement cannot be understated. The impacts to life, health, and safety in our rural counties will be significant. This was such a devastating, unexpected decision by the Oregon Supreme Court. And I'm very sad, but moving forward, we now have to redouble our efforts on issues such as the HCP, the Habitat Conservation Plan. And this is going to take over 50% of state forest lands out of production. So this is something that, again, the Council of Forest Trust Land Counties is working on very carefully. Matter of fact, we met with Senator Merkley's staff last Wednesday morning. We're trying to find a way to work through all. And I'm sorry, I'm talking about the HCP. We met with Senator Merkley staff because we're working on another major issue for Tillamook County and the state of Oregon. That is, as you've heard me say before, the NOAA Fisheries FEMA biological opinion. So what we're asking of our federal delegation is to put in place another pause. It seems like NOAA Fisheries and FEMA are ready to roll out this buyout next year, and it's going to be devastating for Tillamook County and many counties in the state of Oregon. What I'm telling commissioners across the state is that if your county, municipality has floodplains, if you have residents that purchase national flood insurance policies, or need or desire emergency relief funding to recover from disasters like floods and mudslides and things of that nature, you need to pay attention to this buyout. So again, we're just working on so many issues here, big issues, not only for Tillamook County, but for the state of Oregon. And we don't give up. We'll never give up. So with that, I'll just ask for any questions that anyone might have for any of the commissioners. Hearing none, let's go to the cities. City of Manzanita, Mike Scott. Mike, are you with us?
Yes, good morning. I have no updates this morning, though. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us, Mike. City of Nehalem, do we have Melissa Thompson-Kiefer with us or anyone else from the City of Nehalem? City of Wheeler, Mayor Doug Honeycutt, City Manager Mary Johnson. Rockaway Beach, Mayor Sue Wilson. City of Garibaldi, Mayor Tim Hall. How about the City of Bay City, Mayor David McCall. So I know City Manager Nathan George from the City of Tillamook is not with us, but I think we have City of Tillamook Chief of Police Ray Rao. Chief Rao, are you with us?
Yes, sir, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Oh, good morning, sir. I'll try to fill in the best I can. Mr. George has a great voice for radio. I have a face for radio, I've been told. Today, we're going to talk about the TLC driveways we paved last week. We've been really busy with Public Works in the City of Tillamook with reduced staff. Grove, between 1st and 2nd, was graded and shaped for better drainage. It was not paved. Crews will be backfilling holes from water leaks south of town. Staff will be doing mandatory samples and inspections at water and sewer facilities this week. Several staff members are in the process of obtaining CDL licensing and certificates, which is important as we operate the heavy equipment within the city. Reservoir inspections at the water plant will be done this week. Public Works is still experiencing staffing shortages, and we have several open positions for the city. If you're interested in applying, or if you know anybody that wants to work in a great place with great benefits and a great team, please visit City Hall or our website for an application and contact Human Resources Director Jamie Christensen. The city would like to remind our community members, if you need a water meter turned on or off, please call City Hall during normal business hours to schedule this. These take special tools to operate, and so it's important that we have the city staff do this and not members of the public. All the city departments under Mr. Nathan George's leadership, we're working diligently with CARE Incorporated and other important stakeholders, notably Commissioner Aaron Scar, as we work to implement sustainable solutions to assist those in our community struggling to find housing. This is a real and serious issue, and we appreciate the leadership of Commissioner Scar and Peter Stark at CARE Incorporated. We're committed to working with them to find these solutions that we can sustain as a community. We are pleased to announce the City of Tillamook for the Police Department has received over $16,000 in grants from the Oregon Department of Transportation for traffic high visibility overtime grant funds. This grant allows us to be fiscally responsible with our limited budget as we work diligently in our efforts to improve the livability of our community members and visitors to our beautiful little town. Our traffic car, Officer Kurt Vanderhoff and Lieutenant Trox were instrumental in the submission of this grant proposal. We're very pleased to receive this. It helps tremendously with us throughout the year. Your Tillamook Police Department appreciates the support of the Tillamook County Sheriff's Office. They're stepping up this week to provide several hours of coverage for emergency calls within the city while we conduct our quarterly firearms use of force training as an agency. It's important we train completely as a team when we do these types of training, and the Sheriff's Office stepping up to help us. I know they're really short-staffed, and they help us with OSP. It's been a great relationship, but to do that is huge for us, and so we appreciate that. Trent Olson, our school resource officer, he's been adjusting nicely and fitting in very well in his assignment. He is also completing his PCOT. It's the Police Career Officer Development course. It's basically an accelerated course that allows officers who are certified in another state to bypass the 16-week Basic Police Academy at DPSST. He's taking his exam today, which will allow him to get, if he passes, which we know he will, he's a smart guy, to get his basic certification. We've had several instances of community members contacting us up to several days later regarding an issue they had because they said they didn't want to bother us. And we want to encourage everyone, if you have any issue at all, please call dispatch at the non-emergency line number of 503-815-1911 or 911 if it's an emergency. We have officers working and out on the street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to serve you. Your time and concerns are important to us. Thank you, Commissioner Yamamoto. We appreciate the opportunity to speak at this forum.
Yeah, Chief Rao, we appreciate very much you being here. Thank you for that. Let's move on to South County. Do we have Doug Olson with us?
Good morning, Commissioner. Yes, I'm here.
Good morning.
Just a very quick summary of items. I'll put on my Tillamook PUD director hat for a moment. We're sort of coming out of the fire season, probably another few weeks left, but unfortunately nothing has happened here in Tillamook County, and part of that is due to Tillamook PUD's aggressive vegetation management plan. I think I mentioned this maybe on an earlier call, but we have developed a plan in cooperation with others throughout the state and elsewhere on vegetation management, trimming back trees and things around power lines. In fact, our plan has become a bit of a model for the state of Oregon, and other PUDs have adopted it or parts of it as well. And so cross your fingers that nothing will happen over the next month or so till we do get some fall rains. So it's been a good year, and those who have suffered from fire, of course, it's a terrible thing to happen. It's very devastating, but with any luck, we'll make it through another season here in Tillamook County. And then finally, I wanted to just offer an opinion on the lawsuit that did not get to the Supreme Court that was talked about a bit earlier. As someone who's been around this for 40 years or so, I will tell you that the courts in Oregon and probably most states are inherently political. You may think that you elect the judges, which indeed you do, but in virtually every case, a judge is appointed for his or her first term, and hence the politics of it do enter into whatever decisions they make. And if you think that our courts are purely academic and legal, straight up and down, you are grossly mistaken. They are political from day one and have been for many, many years. So that's just my personal opinion, observing this for many, many years. And as we look at those kinds of decisions, something to think about. So I'll end with that, and thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you for those comments, Doug. I do appreciate it so much. I think you are correct. So with that, I want to thank everyone for being here today, but a special thanks to KTIL for broadcasting this live today, as they do every Tuesday morning. We appreciate that so much. So time being 8:57 a.m., we will adjourn this community update. Thank you again, everyone.